This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Look at the afternoon testing session, and a former Daytona 500 pole sitter himself. One of those Hendrick cars topped the speed chart. Jimmy Johnson was fastest, and as you can imagine, the DEI entry, the #1 John Andretti car, was right behind Jimmy Johnson on the chart as well. And even though his schedule may be limited, his speed was not. Bill Elliott was third fastest in his number 91 Ray Evernham powered Dodge, and we all know about the Wood brothers and how they do on this track. Ricky Rudd fast all day long in the afternoon session as well. Another car to keep an eye on that's shown very well in this test session is the number 49 Bam Dodge, driven by Ken Schrader, as they continue to work out their sponsorship issues. A little bit of speed at Daytona testing always helps out. Let's take a look at back to the morning test session, which was the first for this group, and it should come as no surprise that right out of the truck, the DEI car was the fastest in the clean air. John Andretti in the 1 car topped the speed charts. Ken Schrader was second fastest in the 49. And again, that's so great to see, considering it was questioned as to whether that team was even going to run this year. Now, the Wood brothers have a very long history of running well at Daytona, and no change this season. Ricky Rudd in the 21 had the third fastest lap, turning a 48.2. Now, second-year driver Casey Mears is back behind the wheel of Chip Ganassi's 41 Target car, and Ernie Elliott powered Dodge had a fast lap of 48.2 as well, 186.4 miles per hour. And there's your former pole sitter at Daytona himself, Jimmy Johnson, in the 48 in the morning was 5th fastest, just a hair faster than the boss, Jeff Gordon, who was 6th fastest in the morning session. Now, another tip of the hat has to...
The multi-car teams are enjoying the split session, but all 4 Hendrick teams are here this week. In fact, they own Garage C at Daytona.
We were pretty fortunate.
Elliott Sadler is working with what Dale Jarrett baselined for him last week, but he's the only guy in both sets.
Las Vegas and on from there. You know, the test that Goodyear did here with Michael Waltrip and some of the other teams back in August or September of last year, the drivers didn't really feel a difference, but the biggest curveball that's been thrown at these teams is this tire flexes a lot more. It moves around because not only is it a softer compound, it's a softer sidewall. So they've really been having to work on the left rear quarter panel, because as the car goes in the corner and travels, it's been rubbing that corner panel. In fact, I watch
They do their best to put something together for me, and he hasn't totally guaranteed me, but I think he's going to try real hard.
You know, 36th or 41st or something, so taking a little different approach.
Now this year, Goodyear brings a little softer rubber.
Try everything up. So, you know, Casey was ahead of me. He went into turn 3 and almost wrecked.
Everything was cleaned up. Elliott Sadler was the fastest in the morning session. The 38 had a fast lap of 48.9 seconds, and the changes at Wood Brothers Racing are paying off. The team moved from Stuart, Virginia to Mooresville, North Carolina recently, changed a bunch of people around, and they have been fast ever since. John Andretti was above 187 for the 3rd fastest on the speed chart, and that's where he's been running all week long. Ken Schrader's Bam Dodge was just a tick slower, but still the 4th fastest in the morning session, and that is very promising for that team as they continue to try to tie down some sponsorship. Now, Casey Mears was 5th on the AM speed chart. His best lap was a 48.2, and he was the first out in the morning, but luckily didn't find that same slick spot as Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy's teammate Jeff Gordon was also up on speed, 7th fastest. To the afternoon session, Rusty Wallace was the only car out there to simulate a full qualifying lap. And keep in mind, when it comes to Daytona 500 qualifying, only the first 2 positions are set in qualifying. Everybody else races in like this, in the draft. And look at these cars getting dicey. The 31 of Robbie Gordon, 41 of Casey Mears Touch, and that had to send shivers down their spine after they saw Jimmy Johnson's car on the flatback hauler. Now, a lot of quick cars running together here. We talked earlier in the week about how the Richard Childress racing cars were looking for speed. They were the fastest folks in the draft this afternoon as they handled where it counts in Daytona, and that is in the pack of cars. Now, let's take a look at some more speeds. Now, we remind you once again that these are
Pretty typical Daytona, really. No surprises, which I guess that's good. You know, the Ford's got a new nose piece on the car.
You know, it's first time at Daytona we've had the tallest Fords.
I was just out there just trying to give everybody as much room as you possibly can and just try to learn a little bit and take something away from here without getting involved in something, but somehow we got involved in something.
We had a good run, so I thought I'd go to the outside and
A little bit with Casey Mears, but the guy that was really dicing it up was the 25 of Brian Vickers. In fact, he made it 3 wide at one point and almost ran into the side of the 09 car of Joe.
We want to be up top and winning races and try to be in the top 10 in points at the end of this year.
Well, with a lot of good talented drivers coming up, and I'd like to put myself with those guys.
Against some of these guys before, you just, it's racing. You got to go find a car and you hope you're
on how I can get through the corner with the least amount of wheel and still keep it on the bottom for my fast lap and things like that.
I definitely didn't think it was going. Yesterday, I was on the fence.
It was the 02 of Hermie Sadler, who was just 15th fastest in the morning session. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the fastest guy in that early session, consistently in the 179 mile per hour range. The man who always runs with Jr. on the big tracks, Michael Waltrip, was in the top 5 in speed for most of the day as well. Here he's running 178.639, good enough for third on the charts. Now, David Stremme had some trouble as he slowed on the backstretch. It must not have been that bad because he lost very little testing time. The fastest speed in the AM session was turned in by Martin Truex Jr., followed by Earnhardt Jr., Waltrip, Nemechek, Curtis Markham, and Kevin Harvick. In the afternoon session, Dale Jr. did a lap of 49.7, 180.756, a speed that held up for most of the afternoon. And Mike Wallace in that 4 car briefly moved up to the 4th fastest, perhaps aided by a tow provided by Casey Kane. Wallace never really came close to the speed of 179.197. Martin Truex Jr. was able to get close to the boss with a lap just slower than a 49.9. Joe Nemechek in the 87C turned the fast lap of the day with a 49.6. That's 181 miles per hour. The surprise of the day was the 18 of Curtis Markham. He ended up 4th fastest in the PM with a speed of 180.094, one of only 4 drivers to break 180 miles per hour.
On the Bushwhackers are already used to.
The Winston Cup cars do not have it. My arm.
I think that the Cup drivers have the experience to handle all the air that moves around. I'm usually very optimistic about it, and that's kind of a flip of what a lot of people learn. They're like, oh, we got to stay on the gas, got to stay on the gas, and it's actually, you really need to be ready to pedal it a lot.
Martin Truex, on the other hand, is a rookie who is learning the nuances of testing.
Yeah, it was good. I did learn a bit. I learned exactly where you kind of need to run.
I'm surrounded with 2 great opportunities, running the Busch Series with Bruco and Kleenex as a sponsor, and running the Nextel Cup for Rookie of the Year with AOL and Richard Childress Racing. I mean, I got 2 really good opportunities, and it's going to be good.
He spoke a lot. Dale Jr. told him, just take the shortest way around the racetrack. Otherwise, you are absolutely on your own. As far as the things that he was listening to in the car, though, you mentioned him. You heard me mention, actually.
Getting a little bit of help, and it's happened to quite a few people all day long, so we just kind of discount that, and we know where we're at. Right now, that 04 Chevrolet is pretty fast.
Back and run three runs faster than that by ourselves, so we're really happy with the Geico Ford, and we're not quite as quick as Nemechek and that, but we got some headway, and I think we'll be really good.
Wagner, that's exciting for us, and we went through a lot of little stuff yesterday that really won't show up in big time speed, but we're right there. We're within a couple tenths of the DI cars. And obviously Joe Nemechek, so we feel like we're right where we want to be.
Last year, 2nd in points. We saw you go up on stage there in Homestead, congratulate Brian Vickers on the championship, but this year we see a lot of those guys.
If you've got it bad, here's where to get it good. This season, Speed Channel has an official Fantasy Cup auto racing game. Just log on to speedtv.com and you'll be able to find out how to sign up and get involved in Nextel Cup Fantasy Racing. The grand prize winner will receive $25,000. Again, check out speedtv.com and click on the banner at the top of the home page.
Well, basically what we're trying to do is add aerodynamic drag to the cars. These cars are very efficient when they're running forward, so what we've got to do is try to find ways to add drag to the cars. And
in practice session, the car to keep an eye on in that session was clearly the 00 Jason Leffler car. He was fast. He picked up where he left off on Tuesday. Robbie Gordon is one of the Cup regulars who will be in a Busch car this season. He was fast in the morning as well. Larry Hollenbach was just a little slower than Gordon, his number 62 Chevrolet, and one of Rick Hendrick's up-and-coming young drivers, Kyle Busch, in the 5, was just behind him, and he'll be running a full schedule this year. Now, Paul Wolf is driving the number 6 Busch Series car this year, and he made a big gain from Tuesday, jumped way up on the speed chart. And here's Kenny Wallace in the 23 Bill Davis car with no cup ride. Kenny will be running for the Busch Series Championship this season. And Paul Menard continues to have a great test session back up in the top 10 in speed for this second day. Now, on to this afternoon. Here we see Robbie Gordon in the 55 Chevrolet. His best lap was a 50.033, just a hair off leader Jason Leffler. And if you don't recognize the name Paul Wolf, he's a former open wheel guy breaking into the Busch Series, and he's had a great test session as well. Ron Hornaday in the number 2 Chevy turned a best lap of 50.232, 179 miles an hour. And then we move on to the afternoon drafting session, and surprisingly so, not too many Busch Series cars went out to see how their ride would handle in the draft at Daytona. Paul Menard leading the way in the 33. That's Jason Keller right behind him in the new 22 car. And they just didn't see too much drafting action except with the two of them. Let's take a look at the
car. Yesterday, they blew up an engine big time. Worked real hard yesterday afternoon to put a new engine in that car. Then they came out today, and man, were they fast. Top 5 on the speed charts, and a lot of that has to do with their new crew chief, Ronnie Otto, who used to be with the RCR boys. And the
Chevy had a fast lap of 178.3, 4th fastest on the speed chart, but the guy everyone was chasing was Jason Leffler in the 00. He ran just a hair slower than a 50 flat for the top lap of the day on Tuesday. His backup was 2nd fastest as well. Also on Tuesday, Kyle Busch was 2nd fastest in his low Chevrolet. His best lap was 178.731. 3rd fastest on the first day of testing was Robbie Gordon in his number 55 car. And let's hear from some of those fast guys. Teams took advantage of the makeup day on Monday because of Sunday's rainout. Of those teams, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the Chance 2 team was far and away the fastest. Jr. only took 1 run and was fastest with a 49.7-second lap, and his teammate, Martin Truex Jr., was 2nd fastest, just a little slower than Jr., and he also only got in 1 run. And because the rain...
Interesting to see whether the teams that do have Pontiacs come back with them, but also if NASCAR decides to make a rule change to try to help them.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.